All right, joining me now from Lumen Field in Seattle, our NFL reporter Farhan Lalji. Seattle, their most dominant win of the season Sunday against the Finns. They're now one of only 2 undefeated teams left in the NFC. The question is, are they for real?
Well, Jay, very difficult to say just how good this Seahawks team is right now, despite their 3-0 record, because when you look at who they've played, including here, the Miami Dolphins coming into the year, you would have thought this would have been a signature matchup, but with the Dolphins having their second and third quarterbacks playing in this game, it's hard to get a true evaluation. Last week, Geno Smith turned in one of the best games of his career, but it was against the New England Patriots, a team that certainly isn't expected to contend for anything but a high draft pick this year. And when you looked at this game in the first quarter, it looked very much like Smith and that Seahawks offense picked up where they left off last week. For Smith, he led his team to scoring drives on 3 of 4 drives in that quarter, including the big 71-yard touchdown pass on the final play of the quarter to DK Metcalf. But then they went cold. For the rest of the game, it went missed field goal, 4 straight punts before a second interception for Smith. So still some questionable play there, some inconsistency. You look at his first interception in the first quarter, maybe an ill-advised play. He's trying to avoid the safety, instead tries to get it to Zach Charbonnet. Should have been caught, but ultimately it got deflected, and Seattle gives up a turnover at their own 6-yard line. Fortunately for them, their defense bailed them out, and then finally in the fourth quarter they were able to put together an extended drive and put some icing on the cake in this game, and there was never really a threat when you looked at what Miami was trying to throw at them. So as far as the Seahawks, their offensive line is still very much a work in progress. I think that's putting it kindly. Who knows if they can legitimately contend with what Geno Smith has in front of him. We know the skill positions are there, especially when Kenneth Walker gets back into the backfield. The running game as well, it struggled until that final drive. They weren't necessarily committed to it. So as far as the Seahawks are concerned, we're really not going to know what this team is about until they go to Detroit next week and take on a quality opponent in the Lions.
And then Miami, their season started with high expectations. Then Tua Tagovailoa goes out with a concussion. He's out for at least the next 3 games with that concussion. Mike McDaniel forced to start backup Skylar Thompson, who threw for 107 yards before leaving the game with a chest injury. Farhan, what did you think of Thompson's performance?
Well, certainly an inauspicious debut for Skylar Thompson and the Miami offense. I mean, they didn't look to threaten at any point. And I mentioned in the first quarter when they had an opportunity to stay in this game, taking over the ball at their own 6 or at the Seattle 6-yard line, they come away dry. They have to kick a field goal just to get some points. Those were the only points of this game for them. And, you know, when you look at what this team did coming into the game, when you heard from players during the week and from coaches, you got the sense there was so much confidence in Skylar Thompson. They didn't feel the need to necessarily modify their offense significantly, and they didn't. I thought they would have leaned on their run game a little bit more. This is a team that led the NFL in rushing yards per attempt a year ago, but just 8 rushing attempts in the first half. They leaned on Skylar Thompson. He looked uncomfortable. This team took a number of penalties in the first half, procedure-type technical penalties. They looked really poorly coached, and we generally think of Mike McDaniel as one of the best coaches in the league, but consider that if you look at the last 5 games coming into this for the Dolphins, they've averaged just 14 points. That includes the playoff game last season and a couple of late regular season games. So regardless of who the quarterback is, they've got to get some things fixed offensively. 1 for 11 on 3rd downs in this game. They fumbled the ball 3 times. It just was a bit of a struggle throughout this game. Eventually, early in the second quarter, after taking his 5th sack, Thompson leaves the game. Actually, he was just pushed to the ground at that point. He'd taken 5 sacks. He was pressured 7 times in the first half. He leaves the game. Tim Boyle comes in. So, you know, no sense on how serious that is and who's going to start next week. But if you're the Miami Dolphins right now, you've got some problems offensively, and the coaching staff has got to figure out there's got to be a different way to do this. They can't just trot out the same systems and expect the same results with different players.